Hi, JJ.
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
Can you see me?
Yep,
Yep.
I can see you.
Thanks for being here today.
Of
Um,
course. Thanks for having me.
yeah, Jess and I are doing the hosting, so we're gonna have people send us questions so that we can answer those. But we've already got a nice long list that people
Okay.
submitted. People submitted when they first signed up. I'm being reminded that you offered to do a giveaway. Um,
Yeah.
and we wanted some clarification on what exactly you're giving away. So you could tell the people what you're giving away, and then Jess, I'll let you do the giveaway piece. And yeah.
Yeah. For anybody in the US, I will give away a signed paperback of Keep Talking. And then anyone who's international, a signed ebook of Keep Talking.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So how we're gonna do the giveaway is the same as how we always do it. It's that Caroline has picked a number prior to the event. It's written down on there, and it's going to be from 1 to 50. And if you send your numbers to Caroline, the closest person will win.
Who's our cat friend? Because I'm kind of in love.
Oh, Wednesday. She's a menace.
Um,
She's
well, we love
an
a
attention hog. She likes to yep, you. When I have the other microphone, like, like it's got like
Uh-huh.
the little thing on it, she will like to, when we're recording the podcast with Quinn, she will breathe right into it, or sometimes meow her displeasure that she is not physically on top of me at all times.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
I love a tuxedo cat, so she can take all the attention she wants.
She's very funny.
Um, so okay, we've got a bunch of questions, and I know we always feel like we could use more time, so I'm going to jump right into it. We got
Yeah.
so many questions about narration for this book, so I'm going to hit each point, and then I'm just going to let you chat about. And I think, yeah, you're
Okay.
like that's totally fair because they're narrators, and we're going to narrate
Yeah.
it, and we're excited. So I've got. Do you want the audiobook to be narrated with two narrators? Couldn't help but read it in my head like an audiobook. When will the audio be out? Who's narrating? Did you have them in mind as narrators along? When will we find out who's narrating? You already teased it. Who and when is the audiobook coming out? Did Quinn or any other narrator give you a advice on what it's like to perform an
Mm.
audiobook? So we want to know all the deets about the
All the
audiobook part.
things.
Yeah.
All the things. So yes, the audiobook, I think I can say, because everything's like all signed and done. So it will be a duel, not a duet like they recorded in the book. So it'll be like more like what you're used to when it's just two narrators narrating a book rather than them kind of recording it together in real time. And I do know I did have them in mind, but until everything is done, I didn't want to say, but it'll be Quinn as Bryn, and I did not make their names sound the same on purpose, and I only realized it so much later. And I was like, I can see why people think this is you. It's not. And my Kingsley, the my narrator for most of my other projects, and I did have them both in mind as I wrote, like their specific, literally like the character of their voice, and their style of performance, because I hoped ultimately they would be the ones, to narrate the book. And I asked them both a ton of questions about, what are the things about, voice acting, narrating that aren't necessarily, I feel like you would intuitively know. And so like all the things about being in the booth and like all the way like every single sound gets picked up. And so the thing with the shoe was actually something that happened to Quinn. She was wearing a pair of shoes, and she was like, "What is that?" Like she kept getting this sound, and she was like, "I can't figure out what this is." And it was literally like her shifting her weight slightly. Can you please? Her shifting her weight just slightly in the booth would create this squeak. And she changed shoes, it's no big deal. But I was like, oh my God, I thought that was the funniest thing in the world. I would never have imagined like those micro, and I did have the honor of being in her booth recently when I was in New York. And it is terrifying. It's like complete deprivation from the outside. And when you put the headphones on and you speak into that microphone, it's terrifying. It is like you can literally hear your own breathing in a way that you're like, is this how I sound? Am I Darth Vader? Have I always, do I always sound like this? So I don't know how she's gotten, or, anyone that acts with just their voice can almost like ignore it because it's jarring to hear so well, like hear everything so well. It was a lot. So it's they have not started recording yet. I believe they will start soon. They'll start this summer. And so I imagine maybe the fall. I don't have an exact date though, so I don't want to make promises. But it's happening and I think it's going to be amazing. And I talked to them so much about this book, about these characters, so I think they're going to inhabit them so beautifully. I'm super excited. I am an audiobook person. I consume almost all of my books in audio, so I'm like, "Hmm, I can't wait."
Yeah, me too. So
Yeah.
that is so interesting. I appreciate all those details. I'm curious if there's um, anything else that really stood out to you that surprised you when they were talking about the experience of narrating.
Yeah, how quickly. I mean, so I'm such a nerd and I love learning about things I don't know anything about. So I asked them so many questions, and so many things are, again, we don't really think about it. They make so many decisions in real time, like where to pause, where to speed up, where to slow down, where to speak, lower their voice in terms of like volume or raise it, and how quickly they inhabit. So like in a high banter scene when they're performing, both character, however, all the characters in that scene, how quickly they have to switch back and forth, and the little tricks that they use to kind of like sound like the other character. So like their posture is a big deal. If you're playing, like this is how they kind of said it to me when she's inhabiting the Ice Queen. It'll be kind of like your posture is like very good and you're very poised, and then that kind of can quickly shift into that character. And then, a young, like if you're playing like a kid, you might kind of like get small and like shrug and like slouch and like little things like that where they positions their hands on their body, and they will switch, I mean, within seconds, back and forth to perform as two people, which I was like, that is crazy. I couldn't do that. I can't even imagine that. And then like, especially when you have really quick dialogue, it sounds seamless when you listen to it, and they don't like take breaks and like, okay, I'm gonna do all this person A's voice and then all the person B's voice and blend it together. They're going like ping pong with themselves. I'm like, I don't know how you don't feel crazy. I would feel absolutely crazy. um it's amazing. I'm completely in awe with it as an art form. It's like you are literally acting by yourself in this little coffin with nothing, kind of no energy to play with. It's just yourself. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I have so much respect for what narrators and just voice actors in general do. I remember even as a kid watching Robin Williams do voices and like
Hmm.
switching through voices so quickly, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, that is such a skill! Like it's wildly impressive." So I'm with you on that. I did get a question through the chat. It's a little off topic from where we're
Mhm.
at. Jess, did you have any more narration based questions before I switch it up?
Um, Probably, but no, not at the moment. Go
We can
ahead.
always come back. There's a lot of narrator content to be had. Claire wants to know, many of your books have an age gap trope. Is that your favorite trope and why?
I do love an age gap. And it's like a little unfortunate that now I'm on the older side of the age gap because I'm like, I can't possibly imagine looking at like a 27-year-old and being like, yeah, girl. It's like, no. But I think it's so fun. And I don't know if this is something in Sapphic that we seem to be so drawn to it. The sort of allure and competence of an older woman, someone who kind of has their their life so well ordered. I don't know, I think it's like so often so many, like me and my friends and people that I just know from the community, I've always been drawn to like that older woman, right? And it's like I don't know, I love it. To me it's like catnip. I never get tired of it. Sometimes I'm cautious of and I think, I don't know if it was here that I was talking about it, I was talking about recently, like an age gap versus a maturity gap, and like maturity gap is real rough for me. Or like if they're very like in wildly different places in life, where it's like the power imbalance can be kind of like uncomfortable. So I love an older woman. I'm just, as I get older, I'm like, God damn, the older woman. That sucks.
Yeah. We did talk about that in the book club about how well you manage the age gap. I mean, 19 years is not
Mhm,
insignificant, but with the like way Vivian grew up, and that Bryn was already a little bit on the older side for like the
mhm.
age gaps, that it really made that work really well for all of us, I think. So I think you nailed it.
No, good. Yeah, I that's why I tried. That's how the idea of Bryn's side hustle with the erotic audio came in, because I needed to give her something that she was more confident at than Vivian. Because I wanted her to come in as like, okay, she's not as experienced in this particular thing, but she's not some dumb kid that doesn't know how to do anything. It's like she's hardworking and she has her life together. She's not as successful yet, but you can kind of see that she's building that on her own, and she doesn't need Vivian to give her anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Jess, over to you.
Yeah, I've got a few here that are to do with your other tropes, characters
Mhm.
that you've always included. Um, you usually have a lot of Ice Queen characters. So, first question is, what do you love so much about the icy characters? And also, you always shine a light on Cuban culture and heritage. Why do you think it's so important to show that? And how did you feel showing Vivian as someone who had her name whitewashed and felt slightly disconnected from her heritage?
I think, well, I'll do the ice queen part first. Although I just had a conversation with Macon Lee, and she has convinced me that I've actually never written an ice queen. Um, you'll hear more about that soon, which I think was actually really fun. I love a quote like difficult woman, right? Like someone that society, in the extremely patriarchal society we live in, would categorize as like difficult just because she is competent and doesn't smile on command. Like we should all be that way in my mind, right? Like where, and I feel like it's aspirational, at least for me. Like I would love to have that kind of energy of like, no, like I don't want to, and I don't have to bend to what your expectation of me is. I feel like so often we feel that pressure to like conform, right? And I just love, like, it's competency porn. I love competent women. Ice queens tend to be competent. Um, at whatever it is their kind of world is, right? Like they're very good at this one thing. Like they're at the top of their game in this thing. So I personally, I just love that. I love, like, I love people who are hard to earn, because I think that's something about ice queens. It's not that they're, or at least the way I see them, it's not that they're unfeeling. It's just that like they're just not accessible to everyone. But inside is, a person absolutely capable of like love and emotional connection and all that. So I love people that you have to earn, but it's worth it. It's like once you have them, they are so loyal and so intense in their love for you, but they just don't give it away easily, which I find fascinating, because I'm like kind of like a golden retriever person. I'm like, friends, so I'm like, I love the idea of someone being like, yeah, no, why should I entertain you? Like, you give me a good reason. I don't know, I'm so fascinated by that. And I try to imbue my culture in every book. I feel like it's something that I can write, even if it's not. So it's like I didn't have Vivian's experience, right? Like I grew up speaking Spanish in my house. That was very, very, my culture was very um integral to like my daily experiences. But I try to capture sometimes variations of that isn't everybody's experience. So I know people that specifically weren't taught Spanish so that they wouldn't have an accent when they spoke in English. And it's not from cruelty or whatever it is. It's just like a a worldview, that a parent or grandparent might have. They think they're doing the best for you. And ultimately I've seen people kind of suffer from disconnection later in life, because they feel they can't quite connect because they don't quite get it in the same way. And I think the realities of success, the idea for whitewashing came to me from, I can't remember the actor's name. He was on Law and Order SVU. He played the prosecutor, and he was told to change his name because he's white passing, whatever that means. And that's like a whole nother conversation, like in terms of like ethnicity versus culture. We won't go that way, but you guys know what I mean when I say like white passing. Like that you have no Hispanic heritage and or Latin heritage. And he said no. And his manager was like, you are going to miss out on roles if you don't change your name to something at least ambiguous. And he said no, which is like neither here nor there. It's a business decision, but I was interested in how many people say yes, you know? And for Vivian, it wasn't a choice she made, it was made for her. And then she kind of reclaimed some of that, which I thought was interesting.
It definitely was. And I think how you wrote it was just stunning. Like, it
Thank you.
showed how it doesn't matter about your ethnicity or like how you grew up, you can still feel disconnected from a culture that is part of you and like
Hmm.
DNA and stuff like that. I love that. So,
Yeah.
on the topic of Ice Queens, let's just add a little sprinkle of chaos. Are you a team Ice Queen or team Cinnamon Roll?
Oh no. Well, I think you can't have one without the other, or they're best served together. I tend to be drawn to the Ice Queen character more than I'm like drawn to the cinnamon roll. But I do think the cinnamon roll is the one doing the heavy lifting in the book. In any Ice Queen romance, right? So it's like they're very necessary. And even when you have two Ice Queens, one of them has to give first, and kind of take on almost like a pseudo cinnamon roll, so to speak. Um, so I think cinnamon rolls don't get as much credit as they deserve. I think we're all drawn to the Ice Queen and fascinated by the Ice Queen, but without the cinnamon roll doing the Lord's work, you don't have a romance.
I hear that. I always appreciate how much patience they seem to be able to have for the Ice Queen.
Infinite, infinite
Um,
patience.
as someone who probably falls more on the Ice Queen spectrum, like I appreciate people who have the patience to just be like, okay, and then just like keep at it. Like, oh, you'll get there eventually.
I think cinnamon rolls I think also have such incredible empathy, and I think they are capable of more quickly seeing the truth of the Ice Queen, like what she's like kind of like protecting with this barrier. So I think it's like they see it and they know it's worth the work. And then I also think it's like you don't want to make them like a pushover. So at some point there has to be some give that they're making progress. Otherwise it can also be like creepy, like if this person's just not open to it. But I think it's
Yeah.
that empathy, which is usually what an ice queen hasn't experienced a lot of in their life, right? Is
Hmm.
that understanding of like you're looking at me a little bit more than just what I'm giving you at face value. Like there is more here.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I literally cannot wait for this conversation that you referenced with Macon and the Ice Queens because I have heard some of her I want to say rant, but I'm gonna say like her passionate feelings about what an Ice Queen is and isn't. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that.
And it's
But
all
yeah, I
subjective, right? Like at the end of the day, it's
for
it's so
sure. Yeah.
subjective.
I think a lot of times people will look at an ice queen and think that they are lacking empathy. And I think sometimes you see external behaviors that don't seem warm or maybe aren't as empathetic as they should be. But I don't think that the characters or the people themselves are really lacking empathy. I think it's kind of like a default way of engaging with other people. And then this like soft, warm, like heart forward person is like, but there's another way to do it. And they're like,
Mhm.
no, until they change their mind and they're like, maybe, or at least with you?
And they've
So
often been hurt, right? It comes from a
yeah,
place of protection. So it's like if they
yeah.
weren't emotionally available at some point, they wouldn't have gotten hurt and created this sort of barrier. So it's like I think it's
Hmm.
not just like, well, this character is a jerk. And it's like, well, yes,
Yeah,
they can be
yeah,
direct, but they're not mean for mean sake. If not, I think then you've not written a super satisfying character, I think.
yeah. I think that's exactly the piece of that dynamic that I enjoy most that you're kind of hitting at there. Um, we've got some questions about Vivian's Hollywood history. So, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like the horrid way she was treated by men in the industry, like the countdown to 18 and all of that stuff. And the people want to know if this is based on real stories, what kind of research you did, how you made the decisions going into that. And then also if you've ever had any acting experience or experience in the industry that you pulled from for that.
I've not had any personal experience, but when I started, I knew I wanted her to be. I imagined her kind of like a Christina Applegate character, like the trajectory of her career in that way. And then as I started kind of researching what it would have been like for a young female attractive actor at that time, it was really horrifying. The things I've forgotten. Like
Mhm.
that happened to the Olsen twins. Like people were counting down for them to turn 18, which is it's so vile and on so many levels. Britney Spears, I think, was another one. Lindsay Lohan. There were several, and they had been, I think, a little bit more kind of later down the chain where we realized how disgusting this is. And then the scene from it was a movie from the 80s. I want to say it was like Revenge of the Nerds where they did that. They did like a bait and switch so that the nerd could get with the hot girl. He had like a full costume on where she couldn't see his face. And this was played for laughs. And it's like that's assault. Like it's like and nobody took that nobody was horrified. Because it was like, oh, it was the culture of the time. And I'm like, I feel like objectively this is horrifying. Like whether you're looking at it now or later, it's not like an off-color joke that later you could be like, oh, that was insensitive. I see that now. Like it was horrible. So unfortunately a lot of her experience is kind of an amalgamation of real actors. And so many that haven't shared their kind of experiences and their stories, but being sexualized as a teenager is so creepy and I can't imagine like what that does to your psyche, what how that does to your relationship with your own image, with your own body. But unfortunately, it was very real.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. We talked quite a bit about it in the book club, and I think the consensus was, you know, that even with the horrors of Vivian's stories, a lot of the real life stories are even worse. She had
Yeah.
her moment of empowerment with the like selling the nudes and kind of
Hmm.
claiming that for herself. Um, and that a lot of those real life stories, those people didn't get those moments.
Hmm.
And we talked about some of the actors that we like remembered those kinds of things happening for, and I think maybe it was Tara mentioned watching a recent documentary or interview with the woman who played Topanga on Boy Meets World,
Oh
and
yes.
yeah, that she had talked about some of those things too. So it was really well done. And I think it really embodied what that was like without becoming like the sole focus of the book. It was still part of her character and her experience, but was still very real.
Unfortunately, and I think what and the character like Topanga, I can't remember it. Danielle Fishel, I think her name is. I could be wrong. It's like she wasn't even playing like a sexy character. It's like it's not, I can't imagine for the characters that invited that gaze, how much more horrifying like the things that people must have said to them, like just out, trying to live their life. But like we remember like Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan and that when they'd go out, they try to catch them getting in the car. So they'd, be like potentially flash you by accident. And it's like, what are we doing? What yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we've just gotten less obvious about it, but I hope it's not this way, you know, for these young actors because I mean, I don't know. It was horrifying to me. And to me it made sense why she would then sort of divorce herself from the public eye. Because what could kind of ever came of it for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Jess?
I'm noticing the time. Are you okay to do a few more questions?
Yeah, of
It's
course.
a lot.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so what makes you passionate about this book in particular, and what are you excited to talk about that we may not have asked yet? And that's from Morgan.
The narrating part was my favorite. Like learning like another industry was just so interesting to me. And I can listen to Quinn talk about like the craft of narration. At Queers and Quills, they put on a panel, and it had a bunch of different narrators, and listening to them talk about their craft was just absolutely fascinating, and like the different things that they bring to it, like different acting experience, like whether they've been in theater, whether they've have experience clowning versus like being on TV or movies, like, and how that informs the way they perform. That it was so fun. It was also really fun to learn about the erotic audio, and kind of like how that works, and how it kind of like can help people like listen to like those performers talk about how it helps people access their own sexuality, like, and explore things in a way that feels like safe and comfortable. I had no idea. Like it was just one of those things you're like, I wouldn't have guessed this. I was just looking up, does one do this? Is this a job? And then like ended up, people who that's their passion, and they love, helping people with of all bodies, all genders connect to themselves. I thought was just super interesting.
Yeah, I will have to say I loved how you portrayed Bryn's other side job of like how she felt no shame or anything, but
Hmm.
because of it being for predominantly women pleasure, it was frowned
Hmm.
upon. Would you
Hmm.
say that Bryn was a sex worker, or was she just like, is it a different thing in your mind? Like, how
I
would you?
think so. I think she would say sex worker, and I think she would say it like proudly, because it's like you are engaging in like overt sexuality for someone else for money, right? I just think it's like not with necessarily the same stigma, perhaps, and maybe we don't think of it as sex work, but I think she would call it that, and I think I would call it that too.
Yeah, I agree. We've got a question here from Kaz. Why did you feel like it was important to have Bryn when she came back and took her on all of those dates to say specifically, we'll do this, but we're not having sex until you feel the love that I'm giving, and then I get your heart in return? Like, why did you feel that was so important to show?
I think Bryn understood, and I think without that, they wouldn't have been a couple. I think if Bryn didn't understand, like on a cellular level, Vivian's potentially kind of toxic relationship with her own sexuality because of like the external, forces that she had experienced. So to me, it just didn't seem, without that being really spelled out to Vivian, that I don't think she would have ever really seen Bryn as a possible like forever partner, or serious partner. Because I think Bryn needed to really understand that and explicitly say that she understood, and that her value wasn't in her body, right?
Yeah, definitely. Melinda actually said she personally loved how much Vivian didn't even bat a single eye at that side job. Like, because there
Hmm.
are people that would demand you quit it, sort of thing. And then
Yeah,
to
or be threatened by it, or feel, I don't know, like you're
yeah,
sharing this part of yourself. Yeah.
And not only that, but defended her and her choices, which I thought was really
Hmm.
important.
That's one of the first scenes I knew I wanted to write. And I don't know if anybody watched Designing Women, and that speech. So look it up if you haven't, because it's so good. And Dixie Carter does this the night the lights went out in Georgia monologue. You have like Google that, and it's just this amazing tear down on behalf of her sister to this woman who's being nasty to her. And I was like, I want a scene like that. So I was very looking forward to writing that scene, because I don't think it didn't even occur to Vivian for a second to have any judgment about, it's a job. It's a job like any other, and it's an important job.
definitely. Jade, you got any more questions?
Yeah. Um, Let me see. I got a list, so give me just a second. No, no. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Okay, so people want to know, will we see a sequel or spin-off to their story? And are there any particular characters from the book that you'd be interested in writing as main characters?
I haven't thought of a sequel, but I do love Gloria in a way that is probably like not even natural. And I would love to give her a romance in some way, even if it's kind of like a short story. I don't know. I love her so much. And she's loosely based on someone Quinn knows in real life and it's like a friend of hers. And it's like that's exactly how her friend talks. I mean, I
Amazing.
hope she doesn't sue me. She actually knows and was delighted. She could not believe that she was like, inspired a character in a book. She's just the sweetest human being. So if there was someone, I would kind of like to explore who she is, in some way.
That sounds awesome. And based on the number of hearts and laughs and likes you got, I think the people are on board.
People want to go
Um, yeah,
justice for Gloria.
Well, I
yeah,
have to say
and
I quite liked Iris as well, the assistant, the one who was like, well, if the fainting
Oh,
couch fits, sort of thing. I kind of was like, I kind of want more from her because I thought she was
okay.
like, I was like, mm-hmm.
I mean, I love people like that. Like that's just such a familiar archetype for me. Like I love like the tell it like it is. Like you don't scare me. You're just a person. Like I don't think she sees Vivian as different. Has never seen her as like an actor. It's just like, yeah, you're just a person, which I think is why they've been together for as long as they've been together because she just treats Vivian like a normal person. And I think Vivian forgot what that was like, which I think Bryn kind of also at some point starts treating her like a normal person. Um, which I don't know, must be nice, I guess, if you're a celebrity. I want to be
yeah,
treated like a celebrity.
um,
So I imagine, I'm just kidding.
I did have an interesting question here, which I didn't have all the details about. Somebody asked about, will the same narrators be narrating the bonus epilogue? And if so, will it
Hmm.
be in the style of like the erotic audios, or will it be in the like dual narration?
I don't think it'll be recorded, but I actually hadn't thought about it. So I will give that some thought if we record the little bonus or not. I'll give
Yeah,
it some thought.
All right, I think we're going to pass it over to Cass for the giveaway.
yeah,
Ooh, whoo, yes. Okay, don't scare me.
Look alive.
Um, look alive. Yes, I'm here. So we have essentially two books to give away, right?
Mhm.
The ebook and the physical copy. I wrote down, let's see, 23, and we have two winners. We have Sarah, who had 22, she's from the US, and we have Rach, who had 19, and she's from the UK. So if
Excellent.
you could both please send us an email at sapphic@gmail.com. Then we're going to connect you to JJ and you can figure out the prize.
Perfect.
Okay, back to you.
Jess, you want to
10 out
close
of
us
10.
out?
yeah. So I've got two more questions for the prosperity of things, like you did last time. Desert Island, who are you gonna pick?
Between
Yep, of
between
all
Bryn
your
and Vivian?
characters in
Oh, of
this
all of
book,
them.
of who are you gonna pick? I go Gloria.
I think Gloria. I think it'll be fun. We'll get nothing done, but I won't panic because she'll never stop talking and I won't have any time to get nervous. So I think 100% Gloria. Genius.
And finally, what can we expect from you next? Like, what can we keep an eye out for?
I think next will be another co-write with Bryce Oakley. You may be familiar with a good friend Bryce. It is an enemies to lovers chef book. Two chefs.
Oh.
And it's been really fun. We're writing that now, and I think that'll be next.
The
It'll be
Cuban chef? Do we get
of
a lot
course.
of
Come
Cuban
on,
food?
of course.
Oh my God!
Come on.
Yay! Put the recipes in there too.
That's actually a very good idea. I'm gonna keep track of that.
Yes. I'm
I
gonna
yeah.
remind you
Yes, please do.
again and again and again and again.
Because I will immediately forget.
Okay. Recipes. Okay, go.
Perfect. Well, now we definitely have to have you on and we'll do a cooking session or something.
Perfect. I can't cook, but I don't know, maybe my mom will come.
Oh, love it. Okay. And where can we find you on social media or anything else?
On Instagram at the JJ Arias because someone rudely was already JJ Arias.
Oh,
I
there
know.
is only one JJ
There's
Arias.
actually like a math professor whose books sometimes show up with mine, and I'm like, this poor man. What must he think?
Oh, that's a very different algorithm.
But very different. I don't know if anyone's ever made a mistake and gotten mine instead of his, but I think I in an alternate universe, I'm gonna say absolutely. It happens all the time.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, JJ, and everyone for joining us. We've had an absolute blast. We love you all so much. We couldn't do this without all of your support. Um, so yes, and our next event is going to be on the 16th of May for another returning artist, Carrie Bird, for her
Oh.
sophomore,
Mm.
I think it's sophomore in America. I don't know, the
Mhm.
second
Yeah.
year of
Sophomore.
secondary
Yep.
school. For the second draft, her book for the second draft. So keep your eyes peeled on the socials, and also there's going to be a special post posted tomorrow. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. So yes, thank you everyone. Hope you have a brilliant rest of your Saturday, and hope to see you all on the 16th of May.